Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I'm doing great because I am excited to be doing a Thanksgiving filming location video today. Today we are going to be doing the great planes, trains, and automobiles filming locations of the Chicago area. This is directed and written by John Hughes, starring Steve Martin, John Candy, and tons of laughs. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. These special sunglasses are for Alexil. Alexil, I hope you are a fan of planes, trains, and automobiles. I'll be sending these to you after the vlog. Thank you for being a Patreon. Now let's go do some filming locations. So here's Neil Page's house. The whole concept of this movie is Neil is trying to make his way from his job in New York to his home here in Chicago for Thanksgiving, and his flight gets rerouted because Chicago's experiencing a storm, so he ends up in Wichita. And John Hughes said that actually happened to him. He took a flight from New York to Chicago. 5 days later, well, flight from New York to Chicago, ended up in Wichita, and then 5 days later he ended up home. So he wrote this story about it. So this is where Neil is trying to make his way through the whole movie, where Neil's family is waiting for him while Neil is going on this horrendous journey with Del Griffith. We also see this at the end though. All right, now we're headed to the Braidwood Inn. I would have loved to have stayed here. I actually called and tried to get a room, but it was all booked up, so no dice. So when they're in the airport in Wichita, Del just delivers some just amazing lines. He says, one of them is, he tells Neil, "You're gonna have better luck playing pickup sticks with your butt cheeks than finding a way out of Wichita tonight." And then later on he says, "You'd have better luck finding a three-legged ballerina." God, just absolutely great. Can't wait to see this place. In the movie, what is Edelin's Braidwood Inn that Del calls from the airport to get a room is now called the Sun Motel. And it's not in Wichita, about 30 miles south of Chicago. This is where Doobie brings them. Remember Doobie the taxi driver? "Hey Doobie, why didn't you take the freeway?" "Oh, you said your friend had never been around here. Thought he might like to see it." In the middle of the night? So Doobie drives right up here in the evening to drop him off right in front, right there. Well, we've made it. There's about a good 20 minutes of the movie that takes place at this stop. Right behind me is that famous rock wall that you see them sitting in front of, and they actually would have been sitting where this car is parked. Right here would have been the Edelin's Braidwood Inn sign hanging. This is where they'd stay for the night. Let's go on in and see what it looks like inside. So in here's where they would have went to check in with Gus. "Del Griffith, how the hell are you?" "$1 million shy of being a millionaire." They would have redressed it, I think, for this to be the diner scene the next day as well. But in here's where they're checking in and all the rooms are booked up. So he says, "Well, I'll have to charge you double, but with the discount it'll come out even." And then they find out that they're gonna be put in the same room together. Even the soda cans look like they could have been from when they actually filmed the movie. Now I know in the movie they stay in room 114, so I want to go see that. There it is. Would have been that room. So once they go into the room, they realize that it is a one-bed room, and they're gonna have to share that bed. So Del offers Neil to take a shower, and he mistakes it thinking together, and he says, no, I mean, just, do you want to take a shower first? So Neil says, "No, you can." Big mistake. Del ends up destroying the bathroom, leaving it a total mess, using up all but one towel. So he comes out smoking a cigarette on the bed. Del, played by John Candy, is smoking a cigarette on the bed. He puts some money in the vibrating bed, and you find out later that he had the beer on the bed and the beer cans exploded. So Steve Martin's in there trying to take a shower. The water runs out. He tries to grab a towel to dry off, and it's just a little hand towel. That's all that Dell's left him. And when he comes out, he tries to go to sleep, and that's when he mentions that the bed's all wet and everything. And Dell is clearing his throat. He's cracking his knuckles. He's talking. He's just a total nightmare to be rooming with. And finally, Steve Martin blows up. And Del Griffith says, "You're not a real tolerant person, are you, Neil?" Steve Martin says, "You know, not everything's an anecdote. You gotta discriminate between the good stories and the bad. Sometimes they have to be humorous. Yours are none of that." He goes, "I could sit for days in an insurance seminar with a smile on my face, and they ask me, 'How did you do it?' And I'll say, 'Because I've been with Del Griffith. I can handle anything.' It's like, 'You're a chatty Cathy doll, except instead of me pulling the string, you are.'" So they end up having like a heart-to-heart moment after that, where Del basically says, you know, "Sorry you're so angry, but I like me, and my wife likes me, my customers like me, and I'm not gonna change." So they lay down and they try to go to sleep, and they get robbed in the middle of the night. Somebody breaks into their room, empties out their wallets. When we see the next scene, you hear that "I'm back in baby's arms" song playing, and Del Griffith is spooning Steve Martin, Neil Page, and Steve Martin wakes up and says, actually I think Del says, "Why are you holding my hand?" Steve Martin says, "Where's your other hand?" John Candy says, "Between two pillows." He says, "Those aren't pillows." So once again they get up and freak out and everything, and they end up inside at that diner that we just saw. They would have redressed it. At one point it was the office, then they redressed it to be the diner scene, and then they come out here and they're waiting for Gus's son to come pick them up. So at that scene, they would have had Dell's trunk just about right here, a little in front of the sidewalk, and they'd be sitting on that right there. And the lens they're using makes it look like they're sitting directly under, like directly right beside that door and under the sign, but when you see an overhead shot, they're actually a little further out. So this is where they're waiting, saying, you know, "I just hope we get home." He says, "Well, Gus's son's coming to pick us up," and then you see that crazy truck pull up, and Gus's son gets out, and then walks over, and the guys are about ready to put their stuff in. He says, don't worry about that." And he tells his wife, who's holding like a newborn baby in the car, "Get your lazy butt out here and put those bags in the back." Oh my God, what a scene. What a scene. Like I said, I tried to stay here even though the reviews weren't real great, but every room is already booked up. So it was nice to at least come out and see where the, like I said, about 20 minutes of the movie takes place here. Well, after Del gets his whole jacket situation caught up in the seatbelt, and they end up just destroying the rental car, and after Del tells him that he used Neil's credit card to get it, Neil punches him in the gut, and they end up driving that burned up car, that rental car, right in through here. It's a night shot, but that is where the El Rancho Motel was, and it looks pretty similar. It's gonna match up pretty nicely. So they pull up to the office right here, and it looks pretty similar to the way it did then, other than the neon sign that says office isn't there, and that burned up car's right there. And Del says, "You know, Neil, you could have killed me punching me in the gut like that. That's how Houdini died, you know." And they go in there. He says, "You know, I think we ought to get separate rooms." Neil says, "You can get your own room." So they go in there, and neither one of them has any money because it's all burned up, and they try and make a deal with the guy behind the counter. So Neil offers him, the room is $42.50, and Neil offers him $17 and a very nice watch. And then he gets his room, and then Del tries to make his deal, and he offers $2 and a nice Casio, and gets turned away. So we see Neil get into the car, and he ends up pulling it right into here, right underneath that. They've repainted it a little bit, but you see that, and the car is actually right there. So Neil's room is this one. He's got that double twin bed and he's in there by himself, and he starts thinking about maybe Dell's not such a bad guy and he's got two beds, maybe he should share it. So Dell's in here talking to himself in the rental car, talking to Marie, saying, you know, he knows what a pain in the butt he is. So Neil comes out here, Steve Martin comes out this door and offers Dell to come in and sleep inside, which he does. And then they end up getting along. That's when they're drinking those little bottles of booze and where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? I think I'm gonna go to Jamaica, man. They get along and start, you know, kind of not being quite so uptight even. I mean, how could you be after everything they've been through? It's kind of crazy, but yeah, then they hop in here and drive on out of the parking lot with the rental car, and that's when they get pulled over as they're making their way to Chicago. And Michael McKean pulls them over and says, "Do you think this car is roadworthy?" And Dell says, "Oh yeah. I mean, we had a little bit of a fire last night, but we caught it right in the nick of time." So cool to see how similar this still looks. And if you're interested, I'll give them a little free advertising. Now we are going to have an hour drive to Woodstock, Illinois, which I've been to before. It's actually one of my favorite places ever. It's because not only did they use it in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but they used it as the Punxsutawney in Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. So I get to go back, and we're going to be right there where Phil steps in the water. We're going to be right across the street from there. So right here in Woodstock Square, Neil is standing over here by the gazebo. So then we get a shot like this, before it was overgrown, showing the tow truck coming through town, pulling their destroyed rental car because Michael McKean has deemed it unfit to drive. So we see it rolling along this way. And he sees it from over here in Woodstock Square, where the famous gazebo is from Groundhog Day. Where the Gobbler's Knob and everything would have been right there. I did a whole video on that once before, but that's where they would have had that set up and Phil would be doing his report. But Neil is over here with this gazebo in the background. Actually, this was covered up when I came last time, the Gobbler's Knob plaque. For all the locations, they have a plaque in town for Groundhog Day. So that's where it was. Use a pretty wide lens, but you can see this is the angle because you can see the steps in the corner of the shot. And when those trees aren't overgrown, the Opera House is there and you can see where it says Opera behind him. So you end up getting this shot and you see that big red semi come driving towards us. And when it pulls up, Del Griffith pops out and says that the driver's gonna give him a ride. So you can see this behind Steve Martin's head when Del says, "Well, our ship has come in. Well, it's free and it's non-stop. Didn't I tell you I'd get you home for Thanksgiving? Only thing is we can't ride in the cab with him." He goes, "Well, where are we supposed to sit?" Then you see him in the back with all the merchandise back in the back of the truck. Now check this out, from where the truck picks them up, where Phil takes his famous step. Watch out for that first step. It's a doozy. There is a plaque right there. We'll go check that out. And I'm going to show you what's right around the corner from that theater that is an homage to both movies. So now this is a taco house, but in the movie this is the diner that he keeps going into day after day in Groundhog Day. And when he comes out, they put the original walkway that he did that walk came out here, and they've replaced it since, so they put a little plaque here noting that he did that step right there. Now let me show you what I found in the alleyway right past the movie theater down here. So here's a little secret place I found last time I was here. I stayed at the Airbnb that was the Groundhog Day room that Phil stayed in last time I was here. And you see they have this really cool mural to Groundhog Day. It goes all the way down. Needle Nose Ned Ryerson. And it touches on some history of this town. Orson Welles used to live here. You can see his War of the Worlds stuff, but once we get a little further down, unless they got rid of it, they used to have a, I'm not seeing it, huh? They used to have a mention of planes, trains, and automobiles here. Check this out though. These are new. Didn't see these last time I was here. The Orson Welles statue. As well as the groundhog. They put a wooden groundhog here that was not here. And he's on top of his own little gobbler's knob. And look, they put Phil and Rita. So my guess is that Willie was the name of the actor who portrayed the groundhog in the movie. Very cool. Well, that's crazy. I'm shocked that they don't have the planes, trains, and automobiles part here anymore. They had it last time I was here. Because I figured, oh, I'll save that for next time. Yeah, the creator Dick Tracy, I believe, was from here as well. Well, if you ask me, they should put planes, trains, and automobiles in here somewhere because what a brilliant movie. So our next filming location is in downtown Chicago, and it's pretty easy to figure out because you can see a big giant sign that says LaSalle Van Buren right behind Dell and Neil while they're waiting for the train. Let's go see if we can match that up. So here we are. Actually, here we are, but the camera is over there pointed across the street at first, and you can see that very LaSalle Van Buren sign as Dell and Neil are right here saying their goodbyes. And Dell is right here saying, you know, hopefully, you know, I guess it could have been worse. Hopefully, maybe I'll get to meet your kids someday. And Neil wishes him a happy Thanksgiving. Says, give my love to Marie, I feel like I know her. And then he boards the train right here to leave Dell sitting right here for Thanksgiving. And the way that you can tell it's this side is because you can see this whole glass building behind them. And then Neil's train heads right down that way, and he hopes that it's his last time seeing Del Griffith for a lifetime. Pretty much right there where that marker is where they would have stood to do that shot. How cool is that? So as Neil's on his train, he starts to reflect on the whole trip, and he starts to put things together and realize that Dell doesn't have anywhere to go, so he actually takes the train back here, gets off at the very same stop and doesn't see Dell, so he starts to look around for him. So in reality, Dell would have dragged his suitcase and everything down these stairs. When he walks, he says, Dell, why aren't you home? And he says, I don't have a home. And Neil decides that he's gonna take Dell to his family's home for Thanksgiving. So here's our big hero moment of the movie. Neil went back and got Dell, brought him home with him, and they're carrying, in the snow, right down this street coming towards us, they're carrying Dell's trunk, and they have finally made it home for Thanksgiving. So we get this fantastic shot. You can even see some of those parking signs off to the right in the shot as they're walking up this street. So as they're walking up to the house, Dell says, wow, you are one lucky guy, Neil. You see them walking up there. You can even see the walk is the same. Then the camera turns around and gets them looking at us. And Dell says, you know, maybe I'll just come in and say hi and then I'll get out of here. Neil says, just come in. So that's the doorway they finally, after this whole journey, make their way into. And greeted by Neil's wife's family, the kids, Neil's family, and his wife. They finally have that wonderful, heartwarming Thanksgiving after this crazy journey. It's weird to see Steve Martin, you know, in this kind of a movie, because at the time he was always the comic relief in everything. And then John Candy came in, and John Candy is pretty much all the comedy and Steve Martin is the straight man, but somehow it works so perfect. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed our vlog today. The other half of the movie was filmed in New York, so when I get back out to New York State, we'll continue and try and find the rest of these locations. But I hope you enjoyed getting to see the Chicago locations. Most of these were the ones I wanted to see the most, so I'm really happy that I got to see them and that they all still remain. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great night and goodbye.